Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, live from SellerCon, day one in the afternoon. I finally tracked down Brock Johnson. Hey Brock, how you doing?
Well, you have a much smoother voice than I do today. I'm doing good here in Vegas, and a lot of networking going on.
Sounds good. So the sessions today, actually before getting the sessions, I'd like you to give a little bit of background on yourself for the audience. Is that okay?
Yes, so I guess the quickest thing is that I'm 27, been selling on Amazon since 2014. I started with retail arbitrage with $100, going to all the Radio Shacks across the country that went out of business. Then did wholesale with Radio Shack. It was almost going to be like taking over their whole e-com part. And then they went bankrupt the second time. So that was kind of no. Then I was like, okay, like everything I'm doing here in retail, arb, and wholesale, like I see the gates closing. Time to go to private label. Failed first 8 products, and then I ran into solar eclipse glasses, and then was able to build a $6 million business in 6 months off $7,500. And that's kind of like the brief background of me.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that was a phenomenal story, but you do think differently. Like, I've noticed the way that you operate. I've even seen you when you posted in groups before, and people wouldn't necessarily agree with you because they couldn't see the vision. They couldn't see what you were seeing. And I think from my understanding, I may be wrong, the clever part of the process for the eclipse glasses, you got all the legislation in place. You were the only one who'd done your due diligence.
There's one other one.
Oh, right. Okay. Do you want to explain the story there?
Yeah, so basically there was not a single one in China. If you sourced from China for this, they did not. Part of it was you had to print the manufacturer's address on it. So I was like, I knew it was cheating pretty easy because I didn't see any Chinese characters on these. But some of these factories people wouldn't do the due diligence and whatever, so they didn't know the regulations, but some would actually lie about it. Like one I was talking with for a while because I wanted to do it in China, so that's what everybody told me to do. You got to source in China. And then eventually over the whole process, it was like, I need to go to the USA or just not source at all because I just need the best and I need to trust here. And I couldn't trust any of the suppliers because I read all the certifications. Yeah, and then basically Amazon ended up shutting down basically all the sunglasses sellers at the end of it. Hey, I don't know which parts you want to dig into, but
yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm going to get you back. We'll do an in-depth on that, but I'd like to understand where you are quickly today. Do you still use like the same thought process now for any of the other products that you launch?
Yeah. So currently, I'm my whole life, but predictably unpredictable. I know I can always find the unpredictable. And that's where the best opportunities always are. So I keep going from unpredictable thing to unpredictable thing. Currently, we've got some new stuff coming out for this winter. It's like, I love seasonal stuff. Right now, you see me wearing NASA right here. I don't know if I can give it away. I'll give it away. Come at me. 2024 new moon is going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be the eclipse that goes over the entire North Continent, and we're going back to the moon. That's going to be huge. So I'm planning ahead, and like, that's it. That's the event, and I'm done for the rest of the life because we went to the moon, and everybody's wanted to go back, and we're going back again. There's going to be a lot of products around that, a lot of everything around it.
And so you're building ahead now, and that's what I mean, is having that vision for the future to build around that, like looking at to that level. I think Tim Ferriss was said, it's like when some people if everyone goes in left, run right. And then what happens is you're either going to completely fuck it up and it's going to be a failure, or you knock it out the park. You just got to try and make sure that you've got your numbers in place to get that right.
Yeah, there's one from Tim Ferriss. Like I use his kind of like, okay, what is the worst case scenario? And then Warren Buffett's like, just make sure not to lose your money. And it's like, what is the best case scenario? And you kind of think about it like that, and just most people they don't want to lose. Like they want a complete certainty. So they go after what's certain, which is almost actually certainly the worst over time, in my opinion.
Makes sense. And so you've dropped in pretty much for a day or 24-hour period. You was at the Helium 10 last night.
48 hours. We had 48 hours. Yeah, Helium 10 had a great network. You were there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, is that where I met you, or was that the night before?
No, we met briefly at the Helium 10 party last night, and but the days are fading for me because of jet lag. I'm not sure what timeline I'm on. Like earlier on today, I had to have a sleep, and then I woke up and I'm thinking, right, what day is it? Is it Saturday? Is it Friday? So I'm a bit fried in that sense. But yeah, we met last night. So you've done the Helium 10 thing. What have you done since?
let's see. Well, before that, there was another Helium 10 thing. I don't know if it was Helium 10. It was with Bradley from Helium 10, and just hanging out with other sellers, and it's just all networking. Just go out and keep talking to interesting people and make friends, and see what each other's know, what's working, and have some arguments if you disagree with people, and then get to the truth and hug after, and that's kind of life.
Well, this is the thing that I like about you, is you do think differently, and it can upset people in like the Facebook groups and stuff.
Lady. Yeah. The girl who's really good at PPC, her my fought. Like the lady, I'm sorry, she's wonderful. We had like a disagreement for an hour, but like I feel like we both learned something from it. And it's always somewhere in the middle. But like,
I mean, there's a difference between trolling and having a sophisticated conversation about a subject that it's dealt with in an intelligent way. And people have their own opinions on it and have their own takeaways. That's different to the toxic stuff that you can see in a Facebook group where people are rude to each other,
Oh, yeah. I actually am very rarely on Facebook now because I know their algorithms are literally optimized just for anger, outrage. That's why the politics become more and more each way, because the algorithms that's how it is. I try to stay off of there. Be in person, because, how often are you hateful to a person in person, No.
And I think, that's a true testament there, in the sense that people won't do that in real life. They're almost ashamed when they meet you because they know the way they've treated you online, because they end up being this. But I've got my own set of trolls as well. I actually build dialogue with them. When someone trolls me, I generally have a conversation. I reach out, go, what's the problem? What is this out? We can chat this out. And then they get embarrassed and things like that. And I don't want to do it to embarrass it. I just what is the issue? Me jumping on Facebook or YouTube comments, or it doesn't benefit anyone. But you can often untangle things, and then you actually build relationships with these people because you come and see from their point of view, and then it becomes no problem anymore. But you can't do that at scale.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. Like, let's just reference that to Amazon and everything. Those people who are, one, because they're on the internet and like they come off a lot more hateful because of the way that it is. But those are actually those can be your best customers in the world, because if you could change their mind, if they're that mad, like they're that act like that, and then you can show that no, you're actually incorrect, and I do care, and I'm fixing that, or you you might think the intentions are are product like this, and you change it. I've had that where somebody there was in the Helium 10 group, I was just getting berated by this one guy, and I'm like, dude, I do so much, what, and then we went back and forth, and then he's like, shit, and he's now one of we have a great connection. He's like, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and then Re took it away and endorsed me, and I was but I so badly I could have torched. I had a position where I could have just torched the idea on the person, but I was hey, no, hey, why do you feel that way? And then it was there's false beliefs behind everything, and then we all can meet in the middle. So with Amazon reviews, those reviews, if they're bad, they're there for a reason, unless they're Black Hat, but if you can turn those people and really when you get those emails and stuff, really show those people you care, those are your true customers then over time.
Well, it goes back to the review thing, and I've only just done this week. We got a product that we reformulated based on one negative review because the consistency wasn't right on the product, right? Well, first you go, oh, it's a competition, because the way the mail was written. But he was very articulate of where he'd done it, and then he took a picture. There's a picture on the listing, but he actually reached out to me afterwards through our website. So it was off Amazon, and I said, oh, right, I made the connection. I said, oh, you left a review. It's quite detailed. What was the problem? Can I send UPS or send someone to collect it so we can have a look at the product to see what the problem is? And he said, I've already sent it back to Amazon. So with that in mind, I spoke to someone else and said, do you have a similar problem with it? And they said, yeah. So I then had it reformulated, and then I've gone back to him. I said, do you mind if I can send you the new formulation of it? Yeah, and so that you can test it for yourself, and then we can take it from there. So I've kind of helped make him feel a bit more special, but I'm still dealing with this negative review, and I'm not going to ask him to change it. It'll stay there. I don't give a shit. But what I care about is the product right? And the way he went around it, even though the review was negative, he gave it 5 out of 5 for this, and verbally, and he go, I give a rating, this is super high, but if you just do this one thing, I think it will make a big difference. And that's where you get negative reviews. You would ignore them, or you can deal with them. And I chose to bring that person in and go, okay, how can we satisfy this customer and make our product better? And that was the deal.
That's I have a very similar, like, that's awesome. Like, almost to the T, the same thing happened to me. And it was actually a more like of an engineer guy. I saw an in-depth review. I asked him a question because I'm like, how do I fix this? Then he sent me all these pictures and everything that was wrong and like what I could do to fix it. And we actually changed the packaging, and just it was literally we're getting errors just because of like one part of the packaging. So we fixed that immediately, and I was like, oh wow, thanks. Like like that's like treat those. Don't just ignore them and like just try to manipulate with more positive reviews to like drown it out. Like that is a bad strategy.
Well, and also just don't accuse it like, oh, it must be a competitor, therefore. Sometimes you have to look within, look at your products, because I think you can add that blind side. It's like you might have ugly children that you're going to think are beautiful. You can't work around that, but then with a product, you can fix it,
Well, here's the other thing. Like, are you really that special? Like, everybody's coming after you? Like, maybe you are, but the odds are probably that it's probably just not a habit. Like, statistically, it's not somebody who just didn't like what you got. That's it.
Yeah, I suppose it's a level of acceptance, but I suppose when someone spends maybe a lot of time developing a product or sourcing a product, the hardship that goes into it, because you've got the failure rates and the success rate of the product, and so when something works and then you get the negative reviews, it probably seems such a massive thing for people, especially if it's early doors and you've only got your first handful of reviews. That's devastating on the listing. I mean, I've had that conversation with Amazon. I went in and met with the mobile team and a few others, and we sat down and we tried to iron out some of the problems. I said, the whole review structure is messed up, because the problem that you got is someone spending 10 or 15 grand or more on a product. It's like a kamikaze pilot. It's like, it's Russian roulette. Your first review counts. And if you've got two options, right? You can't really bury the first review, even if you wanted to. And it's toxic now. Who's going to buy that product when the first review is a 1-star?
Do you see a crazy story?
Go on, just tell me your story. I'll finish this bit. Yeah. So the moral of the story with them, I said, this is what encourages people to cheat the system or basically relaunch the product on a new ASIN, because they've invested all of this money. And I said, you need to look at the Vine program and be a bit more scalable in terms of opening it out, because people will pay $3,000-$4,000, if not more, knowing that they can get Vine reviews. They realise that some of them are going to be nasty, but the ones that are great, and it's going to come down to the product. Yeah. So that's a problem in the system when you're launching new products, because it literally is roulette. It's like, is my first review going to be a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star? And if you have that, it's 10, 15 reviews to bury it. But how can you bury it? Because no one's going to buy the product because it's toxic, even if you run PPC on it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that is an extreme problem. It's like, so everybody has to try really hard to get those first couple of reviews. Everybody's got their own ways, but like, it's either that or you just pray to the God, like, something that's gonna fix it. But yeah, the crazy story was I actually sold 1,000 units with a 1-star review. Only one 1-star review in one day.
Can you talk me through that? Because that's an anomaly, isn't it?
That's when you're the only person left, and it's like the only option. that was that. But I mean, there's still supply and demand at the end of the day. Like, that's what I always focus on: supply and demand. I made like, what did I make? I probably made 50 grand off of that 1-star, one product review in one day.
That's incredible. And I mean, it's a lesson to us all.
Great. It was literally the same as my other products. It was just a different SKU, and like, because I had like I sold in different quantities. So I made a new SKU, was selling it seller fulfilled from our location, and then like somebody immediately put a 1-star. I'm like, gosh! But then all of a sudden it was just like, okay.
People were buying it, and that's the thing. That's great, but you know how rare that is, don't you?
Oh no, yeah, I know that's probably the only existence of that. That's why I said, like, sorry to interrupt your story, but I said I have a crazy story, because you said that never happens. I'm like, maybe once.
You read it once, and it happens to you. But no, that's good. But that's good food for thought if you can work around it and ride that out. But as you know, most cases that's just like, it's the death kiss.
Well, yeah. So that's the most extreme example. But here's the other thing: is that in seasonal, there's always variances in supply and demand. So obviously, the most extreme is you're the only person, everybody in the world needs it, and you have 1-star. Okay, like that was mine. Or the other ones are, there used to be 30 selections and now it's down to 5. Whereas you like at 4.1 stars weren't that great against 30 for everyone else, but now there's only a couple. It's like over time, like, yeah, I don't know. That's why I like seasonality too. But with review, we were talking about reviews. It's great you guys have Danny here to keep me organized, and you guys. Yeah. Because.
Well, look, do you know what? I'm gonna pause it there because I want to get you on the show and we can go down the rabbit hole because there's loads of great stuff that you and I can chat about. So let's leave it there. Any standouts from the conference so far for you?
My standout here is that I go for the people. Just go where great people are and associate with great people. You can listen to keynotes on YouTube. You can listen to anything. Like you can buy you get all the downloads from this. Why would you go listen to them live unless like you want that in-person experience with that one? But why? Like you can watch it at 2x speed at home when you're on the treadmill. But you can only network with the people once at one period of time. So you always see me if I'm at an event or something. I'll be by the punch bowl and just talking to people.
Sounds good. So human connection wins out all.
That's really the only thing that matters. Well, like what? If you're going to go and listen to how many action things that they're going to talk about, and like you're just going to get overwhelmed with content, and they can't say everything they truly want to say because they have to be like politically correct, protect their business info and stuff. Like when you talk to people, they'll tell you stuff that they won't tell everybody else in the world. Because I'll tell you something personally that I won't tell to the entire universe or 1,000 people, you know. So like or like individualized help or questions, you'll get that, but like you don't get that from a conference. Like they're great, but I think there should just be a conference of just networking. Like not just there's networking as 10% of the time. I do it 100.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think the problem is when you put 100% networking event together, if it was just 100%, it's very difficult to put that organic part in. You know, like we're in the hallways chatting, right? If you put on a networking event, it's almost like, right, you're going to sit on this table and we're going to do speed dating and then we're going to play this game. And do you see, to make it interesting for people rather than going, there's a room, there's some alcohol, throw you in there but leave you there all day and night. Do you see what I mean? There may be some difficulties. If there is a way, and you like the way that you think, there maybe is, you know.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah. It only works because you guys do this. Yeah. And I get to see who's like, and then catch people in these. So it does exist right now, kind of, but like we can't all do it. Just like seasonality is great, and there's other things that are great, but if everybody does it, or like you go too far in any extreme, doesn't work. Yeah. But you could be the rebel outside. Networking all the time. It works for me.
Well, I'll leave it on that note, guys. Thanks for joining us. Brock, again, I'll get you on the show soon. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yep. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you, Danny. You have a charming voice.
Thank you.